Hello everyone, hope you are doing well. My name is Akash and welcome to our channel Coding Turtle. So we are starting out a new series, Data Structures and Algorithms in JavaScript. And this course is basically for web developers, for students who are willing to learn DSA and they want to prepare for their interviews. So this series is right for you. So currently a basic understanding of JavaScript is required, but even if you have done any other language, then you will be completely fine and you will be able to grasp the concept very easily. And going forward, I want to break a myth that when you're preparing for interviews like Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, or any other startup where you're preparing for your DSA in interviews, so people usually go for like they want to choose language C++ or Python. But I can assure you that companies doesn't care which language you choose. So they what they care about is that you know the concepts of DSA or not, right? That is what matters. So only people like who are going for competitive coding, who want to do competitive coding in future, they go for languages like C++ and Python because they give a little bit of leverage on the speed. So that is what matters there. But if you're preparing, if your sole purpose is to crack the interview, then language doesn't matter, and you can go ahead in the most comfortable language you want, right? So now I want to give you a quick walkthrough of what we will be learning in this whole series. So we'll be starting with array strings and objects, then we'll learn something about time complexities, then linked lists, stacks and queues, bit manipulation, binary search, and then we'll learn some sorting algorithms like quick sort, heap sort, bubble sort, and merge sort. These are one of the major sorting algorithms that are asked in our interviews. And one thing that I want to point out here is after every module that we cover, we are going to do interview questions to gain that confidence that whether we have learned that particular data structures or algorithm or not. So that will give us some confidence. Now going forward, we will also learn binary search tree, since it is also asked me very majorly in our interviews. And then we'll learn dynamic programming. Then in graphs, we'll learn something about breadth first search and depth first search. And of course, in the end, we'll practice all the interview questions also, right? So developers, get your editors out and we'll jump right into the video. Also, make sure that hit that like, share, and subscribe button because it inspires us to create more awesome content like this. So, in this data structure series, we are going to use Visual Studio Code Editor since it is one of the loved code editors out there, which you can download from code.visualstudio.com. And to run our JavaScript, we are going to use Node.js, and you can download the Node.js from nodejs.org website. So let us get started with arrays now. So before learning what an array is, we should learn why array, right? So I'm going to give you a scenario. Suppose you have a student and you want to store the marks of a student in all the subjects, right? So now if you know how to declare a variable, how to store values in a variable, you the first thing that will come into your mind that you are going to do something like this. You are going to let is a way of declaring variables in JavaScript. So what you are going to do, you are going to name subject 1, subject 2, and you are going to assign the marks. Okay, but this is not an scalable solution. Okay, because when the subjects increases, this you are going on creating more and more variables, and you cannot handle this. Or if you want to manipulate some data or you want to calculate some averages, then it is not a very feasible solution, right? So this is where arrays come into picture. You arrays actually helps you to store a collection of particular data, and in a very much simpler way. Actually, array is one of the most simplest form of data structure. Okay, so now if you want to store these marks inside an array, you can do this. Square brackets are used to denote array, and inside this I have stored the same marks. See, it is much more cleaner and much more easier to read, right? So all the marks are present here. And similarly, you can do this for another set of data, any other collection. Like for example, I want to store the name of all the students, right? So what you can do, I am using this strings as Akash, Shivam, Vikas, and so on. Okay, and this is how we can store. So arrays actually helps you store any collection of data. So this is very feasible solution. And since we are using JavaScript in this data structure series, so let us see how we can declare arrays in JavaScript. So actually there are two methods. First method is this simple method, assignment of array. Okay, and then there is one more method, and that method is you can just do array1 and new array, right? In this new array, there are two more scenarios that you can do. First of all, you can just pass the length. So this 10 denote that I want to create an array empty array of length 10 that is going to be created, right? Then there is another situation that you can do. You can initialize the array with some default values. So this array is going to be created with this default 1 2 3 values, and in JavaScript arrays are resizable. Okay, so you can, if you push more elements, it is going to be resized to more to greater length, right? So now we have two scenarios, and in which we can create an array, but in JavaScript most of the developers use the first method. Why? Because it is much more clearer and there is no difference at all in on the level of performance or memory, right? So in our upcoming videos, also in our upcoming code, we are going to use this method only. So let us see now how we can access individual elements of an array. So suppose, for example, I have this array and it is filled with some random values like 1 2 3 4 5, and I want to access this element. So before going on that, we should know that array does one thing, that it labels its element with indexes. So its index start with 1. It will be 0 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, so it indexes start with 0 and goes on till the length of the array. Okay, so using these indexes we can actually access the element. So for example, now you want to access this element 3. So what you can do is simply console.log. In JavaScript, console.log is just like a printf statement. So I'm going to use array and index, right? So it is going to console.log the third element. Okay, so let us see, let us run the code. So 3, right? I am able to console.log the third element. Similarly, you can use any indexes and access the element using the array variable, right? So now going ahead, there are some of the array methods frequently used that you should learn. So first method that is required is push method. So array.push, suppose you want to append an element at the end of an array, so you can use push method. So array.push, and suppose I use 8. So what it is going to do is it is going to push 8 at the end of the array. So let us try this. Let us console.log array, and now let us run it. So as you see, 8 is pushed at the end of an element, right? So this is what push does. Similarly, let us try now with pop method. So there's a method called pop. What pop does is pop actually remove the last element from the array. Okay, so let us run the code now. So as you can see, 5 was the element present at the end of the array, but now it is popped out. Okay, so there is push, there is pop. Push is going to push an element or append an element at the end of an array, and pop is going to remove an element from the end of an array. All right, so now there are two more methods that we can learn in arrays. So there is the array.shift. Okay, so what array.shift does, it also removes the element. It is similar to pop, but what the difference is there, it removes the first element, not the last element. So let us now run the code. So as you can see, 1 is removed. Okay, so this is what shift does. It removes the first element from the array. And then there is a method called unshift. Unshift is similar to push, but there is a one slight difference. It pushes an element at the starting of an array. Okay, so since I'm doing array.unshift 9, so I suppose you have already guessed it. Yeah, 9 is going to be pushed at the starting of an array. So this is one of the 4 methods that you should learn: push, pop, shift, and unshift. This is some of the general method that we are going to use in the data structure series. All right. This is one of the most used things in data structures and algorithm is 2D array, right? So let us see how we can create 2D arrays in JavaScript. So suppose I'm going to create a 2D array. I'm filling some random values. So this is what you see is a 2D array. All right. So you can consider 2D array as a matrix, some with rows and columns. All right. So this is the first row, this is the second row, and these are as columns. All right. So we are going to access these elements also considering them as a matrix in our head. All right. So suppose I'm trying to access this element. So how can we access it? So first see what is the row. It is the first row. So since we know the indexes start from 0, so we are going to give it as 0. and which column it is. So it is first and second. It is the second column. So let us give it 1. So now let us console.log it. So as you can see, it prints out 2. All right. So it will be simple if you consider this as matrix and try to access it as rows and columns. All right. So suppose for you, I'm going to create some more elements. All right. So now if I try to access, suppose this 7th element. All right. So let us see which row that does the 7 falls in. 0 1 2 in the second row. Sorry, it is in actually in the third row, but index will be 2. And which column? 0 1 2. So 2. So let us console.log 7. So we are able to access it. So it will be much more simpler if you go with rows and columns, and this is one of the simple methods you can create. And one more thing that you can use, like when using push method, you can also push an array inside an array. All right. So suppose this is an array, and if I push an array of elements, so 1 6 7. All right. And if I console.log the whole array now, so see, it is going to push the element 167. It has been pushed at the end. So push method can also push an element as well as an array, right? And similarly, pop can do that too. All right. So suppose I now remove the push and I pop element. So last element in this array is this. All right. So what can be the answer here? The last element, last array has been removed. All right. Since it is handling, this pop method is working on this array. So this is the array and it is considering all these arrays as an element. All right. So this is considered to be an element. So that's why it has been popped out. Okay. Now, if you wanted to pop this element, so what you could have done, you should have accessed this array. All right. What is the index of this array? 0 1 2. 2 is the index. So let us now run it. All right, 5 3 and 7. Okay, 8 has been actually popped out. So what we did, we actually tried to access this array using the index and we popped it. All right, so this is some type of handling that we can do in JavaScript. So let us see how we can use objects in JavaScript. All right, so there are basically two methods that you can use to create an object. So first is this, we created a variable and we store a curly braces. All right, this is a much simpler method. And then another is we initialize the object class and we assign it to a variable. So more cleaner code is this, and this is what we are going to use in further example also. And there is also no level of difference in performance or memory. So let us go ahead with the first one. And what are objects? So objects are basically a set of key value pairs where you can use keys to access any value. All right. So for example, I store a key, name Akash. Okay. Age 20. All right. So this is what I have stored. Okay. So I can now use these keys to access these values. So how can I access it? So I'm just going to do O1 and name. So I will be needing the string to access these elements. So now let's run it. So as you can see, Akash. All right. Then there is one more method that you can use to access this element. I can use that O1 dot name, means my object variable dot whatever the key is. All right. Let us go run it. And similarly, I get the value that has been stored at this key. All right. Now this is not currently we have stored a string and a number, and it is not limited to this. We can also store an array. So suppose there is marks. Okay, so I store marks. All right, now if I console the marks, I'm going to get an array. All right, I get an array. And similarly inside marks, now this is this is basically an array, and I can access the array like an array using the index like we did in our previous examples for arrays, right? Suppose I access the second element, so I will get the second element. So in what I'm doing here, in this object on this in key, I am trying to access this 56 or the third element. All right. So now suppose you have created an object and you want to update the values of an object. So how you can do that? So it is simple, like you take the object name like o1 dot name equal to and whatever value you want to update. Now if I console dot log it, then it will update the name value, right? So as you can see, name has been updated. So you can do this for any data type. Even you can update the marks, and you can update this array, this number, string, or any boolean type. So any data type can be updated with this. And another method that you can use is you can even use string as inside a square bracket, and you can update the values. So both will work absolutely fine. Okay, so this is how you update the keys. Now suppose we want to delete a key. Okay, suppose I don't want this marks key to be present here, so let us delete it. So you will use delete and then object dot the key which we want to delete. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Now let us run it. So you, as you can see in the object, the marks key is not present. Okay, so similarly you can delete any key that you want, right? So let us now study about how we can loop through this object. Okay, so in JavaScript there are several methods. So we are going to use this common method like for let key in object, your object name. Okay, so what it is going to do is it is going to loop through your all the keys in your object. Okay, so delete this, and now I can access every object value. Okay, like I will do o1 dot o1 key, and it is going to print the key. Okay, so let us now run it. So as you can see, I got the name, sorry, I got the key, then I got the value, key value, key value. So actually you loop through the keys, and by using your object variable you access the values. So this is how we run the loop in objects, and these are enough for us to get started with data structure series with JavaScript. So let us jump to the strings file, and let me get it a little bigger in size. Okay, so in strings there are basically three types where you can declare a string in JavaScript. You can use single quotes, then you can use double quotes, and also you can use backticks and put your text inside it. So there are three ways. So in first two ways, single quotes and double quotes, there is no such difference, and you can use any quotes that you want, right? But in the case of backticks, there is a slight difference. Like for example, you have an variable, suppose it is named as 10. Okay, so in backticks what you can do is you can just write my value something like this, and you can put a dollar sign then curly braces, and inside this curly braces you can put any JavaScript expression that you want. It can be a function call, it can be a variable. So suppose if I put an a, this is the variable that I have declared, and if I now console.log it, so it is going to be appended in the string and it will log with it, right? So let me run this node strings.js. So you can see my value is 10. Okay, so this is the basic difference. In backticks you can use function expressions or any expression of JavaScript, and in single quotes and double quotes there is no such difference. Okay, so now suppose we want to access this strings as a character. So what you can do for that, so you can just simply consider this string as an array of characters, right? So when we consider this array of characters, indexing starts, since we know indexing starts from 0 in array, so this is 0 index, then 1 2 3. So suppose I want to access the nth character, then it will be 0 1 2, and by doing this I will be able to log that character, right? So let me console. So as you can see, I was able to print n. And one more method, if you want to access the character, then you can use string dot caret, and you can pass in the index, right? So this is also does the same thing, only the method is different. Okay, so this is how you can access any character. Now if you want to loop over the string in JavaScript, what you can do, you can put for let char of single is my string variable, and I can console.log character. All right, so what it is going to do, it is going to loop through the characters, and it is going to print it. So let us run it. See, character by character, it has been printed. All right, so it is one of the method for running the loop. You can also do like this: for let I equal to 0, the standard method of running a loop, I less than single dot length. In JavaScript, length is a numeric property, it is not a function. So I single dot length and I plus plus, and then you can use a single of I. So this way you can access the characters, right? So these are basically two methods we use to loop over the string. Now in JavaScript, strings are basically immutable. Immutable means they are not changeable. All right. So suppose, for example, if I do here single zero index is equal to a. All right. And now if I console.log it, it is not going to change. The character will not change. Let us see. So now if I run the code, as you can see, it is still printed single quoted because this string is immutable. It cannot be changed. All right. So only thing that you can do is you can override the whole string. Suppose you can do something like this. If you do something like this, then string will change. See, A has been prepend, and the rest of the string has been appended, right? Now there are several methods in strings that can be used to make your life much more easier. So let's go through some of the methods. Like for example, there is a method called index of. So what I can do is my string variable and string dot index of. All right. So if I want to check, for example, if GLE, this text exists in my string or not, then I can put GLE, and it will search for this string in my this single variable string, and if it exists, it is going to return the index, the first index, and if it doesn't, then it is going to give me -1. All right, so let us console.log it so that we can see. So let us now run the code. So as you can see, 3. So third index is returned. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So that is right. Now if I would have done something like A, and now if I run it, so as you can see, -1 is returned, right? And one more thing that we can do, index of method actually takes two parameters. One is your string that you want to search, it can be a character, single character also, and second is your position, from which position you want to search. If you don't pass the position, it defaults to 0 and starts searching string from 0th position. So now for example, if I put something like 5, okay, so it is going to start searching the string from the 5th character. Okay, all right, so let us now console.log it, and we will search for this string from 5th position, and it will come -1 definitely. Why? Because it is searching from the 5th character, and of course GLE doesn't exist. All right, this single string, you can convert the single string into uppercases. So you have to just put your variable, then string to uppercase, and it is going to return all the variables in uppercases. And similarly, you can convert to lowercase, just putting your variables and calling the method to lowercase. All right, let us run it, and it is converted to lowercase. Yes. All right. Then there are two more methods that you can use. Like you can use single dot substring. All right, and substring takes actually two parameters. What it does, it takes the start number. So suppose I give 2 and then 6. So what it is going to do, it is going to fetch the string from your main string variable, and it is going to start from the position 2. All right, 0, 1, 2, from n it is going to start, and second parameter we have given as 6, so it is going, it is since this second parameter is excluded, so it will go from 2 to 5, right? 2, 3, 4, 5. So till it is going to fetch out your string for you, right? So let us go and run it. So as you can see, NGLE, it has been printed. So this is what substring does. It fetches out the string, and depending on the position that you give. And first position is necessary. The second position, if you do not give, it is going to take the whole string. So if you run it, it is from the second character, it is going to print whole string, right? So this is what substring does. Then there is one more method that you should know. It is single dot includes. Okay, so what includes that does is, suppose you want to search if a string exists in your main string variable or not. Suppose I want to search if quoted exists or not. So I can just console.log it, and it is going to return true or false depending on whether the string exists or not, right? So this is what includes does. So we revised a little bit about arrays, strings, and objects in JavaScript. So in the next video, we are going to study about the time complexity in data structures. And in case you have any doubt, then you can drop in the comments, and I will check and I will try to answer to the best of my knowledge. And I'm also going to drop the link of my Discord server in the description. You can go ahead and join it, and you can drop all your doubts. In case of you need any help, I will be there. And the purpose here is actually to build a community of developers so that we can grow together and help each other. So that is one of the main purpose of growing this channel. So go ahead and join the Discord server, and let's grow this community together. So till then, keep learning and keep watching Coding Turtle, and I will meet you in the next one.